Dun, 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 dun. Last week, we were nearly shot down in our news escapade to the Antarctic. A pirate ship rolled up and tried to intercept us as we filmed penguins to shed light on the mysteries of simple life and reproduction, mating habits, and sociology. And it seems some people out there don't want us to keep soldiering on. We drew heavy fire from ISIS out there in their icy tundra suits. They were really mean. They were nasty. They had AK-47s. They were organized in small bands. They used a clicking language that helped to translate to kind of a medium level telegraph and transmission system.
Did you get this story from Brian Williams?
Brian Williams was there, but he didn't want to be filmed that night. He was not in full makeup. And I can tell you he's not a beautiful man.
Did you get this story from George Stephanopoulos? Are you taking money from the Clinton Foundation, Aaron?
We saw this already.
What if I told you that every moment you've been alive, you've been trapped in a box?
A form of control, a virtual prison. You can't see, taste, smell, touch,
or
hear.
What is the key?
How would you break free? How?
First of all, you just got to get control of the fact that life isn't what it used to be. It's not your grandma's life. It's not your daddy's life. It's not the American dream. If that ever existed, it has been absorbed.
You have to be asleep to believe it, isn't that what George Carlin said?
And now, this week, in the creeping horror.
This week in the creeping horror, the world tips ever closer towards full-out medical tyranny. California's Senate has predictably passed its forced vaccination bills, and other ducks are lining up. Now at the federal level, we have the introduction of the Vaccinate All Children Act. It asserts that requiring vaccinations for all students will save lives and protect future generations. And it's being introduced by this woman, Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, in a silly hat.
There are Indians in my district who eat dog food when their food stamps run out.
And the real enemy is the Tea Party.
It's time for lawmakers to put anti-science rhetoric aside.
It's kind of like sending a comical novelty midget to be a repo man, or sending the Grim Reaper in drag.
I've been to Haiti prior to the earthquake. And I would consider the earthquake, even it might sound strange, but the earthquake was a blessing.
Or, oh boy, it's a narcissistic psycho who's a black man or a woman, instead of the usual WASP. It's still bad news run by bad people. But there's the diversion of the funny hat.
Not enough children are being shot up with chemicals from pharmaceutical companies that lobby me at fundraisers.
But now, medical exemptions will be the only way to get out of vaccinations. Everyone has to do what they're told because, well, vaccinations are effective. It's assertively a fact, apparently, that it will keep people healthy. And as a former educator, this Congresswoman understands the importance of childhood vaccinations.
The earthquake was a blessing.
Damn your reasons, damn your investigations, damn your philosophical exemptions, and your religion. Baby bust, millennials are having, well, a historical shift towards a lower birth rate. No one's having babies.
Millennials may be shaping a lot of things in American culture, but they're not adding to society in one big way: having babies. A study by the Urban Institute found birth rates among women ages 20 to 29 fell 15% from 2007 to 2012.
The birth rate's down to 948 births per 1,000 women, by far the slowest pace of any generation of young women in all of U.S. history. There's already the whole Asian demographic change going on, and they say that we're on track record to catch up with Japan and Europe as birth rates fall. Meanwhile, in unrelated news, more and more couples are taking out giant loans not to buy cars, not to buy houses, not to rack up credit card debt on consumer goods, televisions, things they don't need, but to pay $30,000 so they can have a baby. Record numbers of people are paying for in vitro fertilization treatments because so many are having a hard time conceiving. No one can seem to figure out why. No one is adding up the issues. No one's talking about it. Is anyone concerned about this? I guess someday it will be children of men, and basically no one will have children unless it's specifically authorized through a highly scientific, highly invasive, highly planned and concocted birth. And but they've got it all figured out. Now they got a chicken with a genetically modified embryo that's growing a beak like a velociraptor instead of like, well, a chicken.
Welcome to Jurassic Park. Bingo. Dino DNA.
At no expense.
Hold on to your butts. Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
At no expense.
But John, if the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists. You never look at birds the same way again. Life, finds a way.
And the scientists note that, quote, by altering this early protein, they're actually altering gene expression. And isn't it just, it's just very interesting. You know, as Melissa pointed out, they're doing everything from growing human kidneys in rats, genetically engineering pigs to grow extra organs or to grow bigger. They're genetically engineering cows to produce human blood with antibodies for diseases like Ebola or certain blood types in cows, mind you, and a lot of other things, lots of tinkering going on. Well, hold on to your butts, folks.
You didn't say the magic word.
All this is happening in labs and making it to the news. Just imagine the stuff that they're not even willing to report or make public. So next time you see a ravenous pack of hybrid, half velociraptor, half chicken death squads roaming through the towns, raping and pillaging things and tearing flesh apart, just remember that it's not your imagination. It's the result of scientists who either never saw Jurassic Park or just don't understand irony.
Training. That's what does it. And training starts in the school each day in the good American way.
Well, I guess life rolls on, the new normal, right? We all adjust to the realities, and California is certainly facing its share of challenges adjusting to the severe drought that I'm sure is most certainly not man-made or anything, just tough luck. And residents, of course, are facing water shortages, restrictions, huge outrageous fines for using too much, and a tense, icy, suspicious neighbor environment. And it's probably even worse on drought-stricken farmers who are having to pay more than ever before for water, unless they turn to, well, some less than desirable solutions that have been going on. And I'll say this up front, already California's drought has brought attention to the fracking practices there, where millions of gallons of water are used, hydraulically injected into these wells to force out the natural gas, the oil.
Usually between 1 million and 5 million gallons. It's fresh water, so there is in many places, particularly on the West Coast and more recently on the East Coast, a problem of allocation of water and how much water is being used.
And at the same time, to create a new byproduct of fracking water loaded with all the chemicals used in the industry, many of which have been called into question. And not only have they tainted something like 3 billion gallons of fresh, clean drinking water in aquifers and had other scandals of just simply using too much water at a time when it's needed, but now drought-stricken farmers who become desperate, they're turning to Chevron and other fracking companies and buying the wastewater to irrigate their crops with. In light of water shortages, we're now seeing farmers desperately dousing their crops with byproduct wastewater. Wow.
The chemicals go into the ground. Some of them stay there, and some of them come back up. The upward portion is called flowback water. When the water comes back up, in addition to having the chemicals that were mixed in there, there's also things that were in the ground that combine with it. Some of that is radioactive material, which is called naturally occurring radioactive material, and other types of salts and brines. So the water that comes up is actually more concentrated and has a higher concentration of total dissolved solvents than what went into the ground.
No one apparently knows whether nuts, citrus, other crops grown with recycled oil field water have been contaminated. No one seems to know in the state that produces more agriculture than anywhere else in the U.S. Farmers, the LA Times report, may test for crops or pests or disease, but don't check for waterborne chemicals. Instead, they rely on oversight by state and local water authorities. Laboratory analysis, in turn, of those samples found compounds that are toxic to humans, but wink wink, no one's looking for them, especially not the acetone, methylene chloride, or other powerful industrial solvents. Wonder if the crops are sucking that up. Wonder if that makes it to the food supply. Well, a lot of other people really aren't wondering. Another authority from Kern County, where so much of the U.S.'s agriculture is grown, said, quote, as long as they're treating the water to the point where it's allowed by whatever agency governs the quality of water, I think it would be okay. Yeah, I'm really glad the whatever agency is checking on things. With more on that, we turn to Melissa out in the field.
I'm Melissa Dykes, and I'm standing out in a field.
And
this is exactly the type of field where the crops are genetically modified, covered in multiple types of pesticides, and we're now being told are irrigated with water recycled from the fracking industry that may or may not be contaminated with as many as 586 chemicals.
And
all of which the government and mega agriculture corporations tell us is perfectly safe for you and your family to eat. In fact, the Food and Drug Administration and the U.S. Department of Agriculture have told us that eating is not only perfectly safe for you and your family, but it's recommended several times a day. Back to you, Aaron.
Thanks, Melissa. Of course, we understand public concern about the food, but I spoke to experts in and around the biotechnology circle just last week, including one lobbyist who explained how the public isn't privy to certain documents that only people on the inside have seen, a special treasure map style tattoo document that apparently is found only on food safety czar and former Monsanto vice president and lobbyist Michael Taylor's ass.
And we're confident that consumers needn't be concerned about the safety.
I could paraphrase, but essentially it says, kiss this, it's safe, just eat it. Meanwhile, though, other experts in the area, many of the farmers, say that, quote, everyone in the area smells the petrochemicals in the irrigation water. When I talk to growers and they smell the oil-filled crap in the water, they assume the soil is taking care of this. So the farmers assume the soil is good. The testers assume that everything is fine as long as whatever agency says it's okay. The oil companies don't want to know. They want to sell the water and make money. And the farmers don't really want to know either because they want to sell the food and not have it be known for being tainted. Great.
Namaste, maggot.
A penny for your thoughts? Well, how about a whole industry just for your thoughts to process them, track them, figure out what they are, analyze them, and use them as lucrative data? Well, luckily, as you know, MKUltra, the mind control experiments of the CIA to meddle with people's minds en masse, individually, thousands of people in laboratory experiments, thankfully is no longer going on. It was terminated in 1973 after investigations by Congress. Congress with their sharp teeth and their little bitey things and their claw hands. And so the world can breathe a sigh of relief. That research into mind control took just a sharp end. Oversight by state and until now, until in 2015, when we find ourselves, quote, at the beginning of the pervasive neurotechnology age. 2015, not just any neurotechnology age, the pervasive neurotechnology age. Do you feel special now? Well, apparently, according to the London Independent, Patents for technology to read people's minds, mind control technology, has been hugely increasing in recent years. Just in the 21st century, the first 9-10 years of it, they found, well, there's about 400 mind control neurotechnology related patents in the first decade, 2000-2009. But in 2010 alone, there were 800 patents just that one year, twice what they had in the whole previous decade. And last year, more than 1,600 neurotechnology patents filed. And there's all kinds of applications. There's healthcare and medical technology. There's market research. There's computer stuff going on.
There are also plenty of so-called neuromarketing companies using electroencephalography, or EEG, to record the electrical activity of the brain by placing sensors on the scalp to try to find out what someone thinks about a new product or advertisement.
And, well, we find who has the most patents? Microsoft with 89. Well, that's good. Bill Gates really needs to know more about everyone, especially inside the old tinker. But we also have Nielsen. Nielsen, the innocent TV ratings people.
Instead of looking at what happens in the mall, they're looking deep into the consumer's brain.
We'll just put this on like
on
that.
the brain crown, okay. So this is my brain right now.
This is your brain right now.
Oh my gosh.
The market research people, the consumers into buying habits since 1923, who have one of the most sophisticated and pervasive company research marketing operations.
Tell an advertising company which soft drink you prefer with only a thought. That's just the beginning.
They have important partners in TV, and retail, and grocery, and radio. And more recently, they've been acquired by 6 equity giants, KKR, who go to Bilderberg annually, the Blackstone Group, who along with KKR are buying up virtually everything, and the Carlyle Group, the military-industrial complex known for its membership amongst the Bush family, the Bush administration, and the bin Laden family. Nielsen, the ratings company, backed by these huge equity firms and in business with the biggest among them in consumer and retail, have in turn invested, apparently quite recently, in NeuroFocus, a company that applies neuroscience brainwave technologies to consumer research. That's Nielsen's, the military-industrial TV consumer mind control of the masses technology company, tracking by virtue of what they do, everything they can find in society. They're leading the way with these growing neurotechnology patents, with 100 of them just to themselves in the past year.
A.K. Pardeep is the founder of NeuroFocus, the biggest neuromarketing company of its kind.
We directly reach into the brain to understand how the consumer feels about your ad and your brand and your product.
For brainwashing consumers, tracking corporate purchases, following people around, figuring out what they want to buy and how they can be convinced to buy other things. My God, they live, we sleep. We've got to stand up and say I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
No. People don't actually care. They actually took a poll about all this, and people went, whatever, and just went back to checking Facebook on their iPhones. They don't.
Oh, screw it. I tried.
A U.S. Air Force document dated 1 June 1994 details the plans not only to cause, quote, severe and lasting halitosis, but a gay bomb.
Like a soft, inviting purr.
Yes, the document titled Harassing, Annoying, and Bad Guy Identifying Chemicals says, quote, one distasteful but completely non-lethal example would be strong aphrodisiacs, especially if the chemical also caused homosexual behavior. Although claims were made that this plan never went past the 3-page proposal, the military did indeed submit this same proposal to the National Academy of Sciences for consideration in 2002. Now you know.
I think we're on oil.
because, and coal and nuclear power, because there has been an active longitudinal, long-term suppression of really advanced sciences and technologies. There are 5,135 patents that have been seized under the National Security Act. Part of the technology that deals with energy generation should come out and has also been suppressed for reasons mainly of macroeconomic stability, because, as you know, part of the national security discussion has always been these would be highly disruptive technologies, whereas there are advanced technologies dealing with the physics of zero-point energy, so that every home and car would have a generator pulling energy out of the fabric of space-time, and you would never have to burn another drop of oil.
Why are we not there? Why are we doing that?
Because there has been active suppression of this information.
How much more science is there that we don't even know about? Our entire society has been suppressed. The future is in someone else's hands. Melissa, I've heard there's a lot of inventions the public has never even heard about. What can you tell me?
Well, apparently everybody who tries to do anything having to do with alternative energy ends up, well, just a little bit harassed. Possibly. A little bit. Like, for example, there's this company, United Nuclear, that's been trying to make hydrogen fuel system kits, and their first prototype was a 94 Chevy Corvette that was converted to run completely on hydrogen. But
hydrogen?
Yeah. And as soon as they tried to sell it, Consumer Product Safety Commission claimed that they were trying to manufacture illegal explosive fireworks. Because some of the chemicals they used to manufacture the fuel cells could actually be used to make fireworks, and so Bill Stone created an engine that ran completely on water in the 1950s. He was a retired Florida College physics professor. And when he tried to go get a patent on it, the government classified it in the interest of national security. So he was not allowed to work on, develop, make, sell, write about, or even talk about his inventions on the threat that he might go to jail for 20 years.
They made his invention secret.
Secret.
A national security secret.
As of 2013, over 5,400 patents have been classified under this banner of national security. There's no telling how many of them are related to free energy. Reported his office had been invaded by authorities. All of his paperwork was photographed, some of it was taken. The van he was working on had been burned in the middle of the night. His other car was stolen, and then he suffered a chemically induced stroke. Now he's in a nursing home and has lost his long and short-term memory.
Wow. So I've heard about these water cars, but there's a lot of different inventors and they've all died?
Oh, we've got a little bit more to go here on the list.
It's Dieter and Andy. Join us next time on Debunked when we take on free energy machines.
Yeah, what is all this stupid crap you're trying to build anyway? If it doesn't have one of these, it's not gonna work.
See this engine? It can't run on water.
Yeah.
Join us Wednesday on Debunked.
Yeah.
There are people on my team who have been threatened. There is a man working on one of these devices for my group. We provided some grant funding. A former CIA director, who I don't want to talk about, with a group of people went down there and threatened him and his wife if he didn't stop.
This guy, Stanley Meyer, made a water fuel cell powered car. He's got extensive U.S. patents here on these kinds of things.
It's a major breakthrough that will no doubt make motorists happy. And as Ralph Robinson explains, the Pentagon is also showing lots of interest in this project.
Water has always been considered a precious commodity, but Stan Meyer's invention may make it even more valuable. He has developed what's called a water fuel cell. It has taken the place of his old gas tank. The water fuel cell breaks down water molecules into oxygen and hydrogen.
I don't care if you use rainwater, well water, city water, ocean water. If we take the dune buggy from Los Angeles to New York, we would roughly use 22 gallons of water.
He says it won't need any maintenance, and you won't have to replace it. It'll be at least 2 years before the fuel system goes into mass production. The day it happens will be one the fuel industry hates.
But he sadly died after eating at a Cracker Barrel restaurant, supposedly with NATO officials, regarding his car. The group made an opening toast with cranberry juice, immediately after which he ran outside, followed by his brother, vomited violently, and told his brother, "They poisoned me." Smart meters that send radio frequency pulses every 15 minutes or so last year. The new smart meters can send updates every 15 seconds from every electrical outlet in your smart home.
Inventors, are you working on an idea that could shift the tired old paradigm, revolutionize energy, unshackle humanity from resource dependence, and change the world? Is your idea so good it can free humanity? Call the National Ministry of Patent Office Security today. We're interested in your idea.
This is what people in America are eating. Seriously, this is a basket full of plastic. This is Melissa Dykes for Truthstream News. Today, our food is more convoluted than a Dr. Seuss novel on crack. So I took to the streets and feigned ignorance about food ingredients to see if someone else could educate me on what exactly it is we're eating in this country. Do you care if I ask you guys a question about this food? Do you have a minute? I just want to ask. Just trying to figure out what I'm supposed to eat.
This heaping pile of cold cuts will feed the whole family and keep them smiling till dinner time.
Can I ask you a question about the food? Do you care if I ask you a question about this? Do you care if I ask you guys a question about this bread? That lady did the fake checking her watch thing so that she wouldn't have to talk to me. She didn't have a watch. It was funny. You don't have to eat it, I promise. Caramel coloring, partially hydrogenated soybean oil, vital wheat gluten, vital, it's vital. Textured soy protein, it's to maintain freshness. I mean, I think it's about time we had a daily allowance for propylene glycol. I just need to know how much of it I should have every day. It's important. I forgot what TBHQ is. It's tetrabutylene hydroquinone or something. Yeah, we're trying to figure out what to eat in this country. Because there's like 55 ingredients on here. I don't even know what half of them are.
Preservatives, BHA, BHT. Baby, I'm in a hurry. This microwave dinner is a quick lunch.
And we're confused because these ingredients are so confusing. I'm trying to figure out how much propylene glycol alginate I should be having every day. I'm just wondering how much azodicarbonamide you think we should be eating every day. What do you think about disodium guanylate?
I have no comment. I don't know what that is.
Powdered cooked chicken. What are your feelings on modified food starch? Sodium benzoate? When you hear the words partially hydrogenated soybean oil, does that make you hungry? How about anti-caking agents? Calcium sterol lactylate.
That sounds like rocks and milk.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how much maltodextrin I should be eating every day.
I don't know what that is.
I'm trying to figure out how much of my daily allowance of dipotassium phosphate I should be eating. I was just wondering how much sodium hexametaphosphate you think we should be eating every day.
100 grams, 100 milligrams.
100 milligrams.
Yeah.
That's good for you, right? What about propylene glycol?
10 milligrams.
10 milligrams?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sounds good. Disodium inosinate.
Yeah, it sounds like it's probably blue.
Can I ask you guys a question about these ramen noodles?
I like them. They're good.
You like them? Do you like do you like TBHQ? All the time. He eats it all the time. He goes and buys a box of TBHQ and just puts that right on the shelf. Have a little bit with your dinner. It's good. Silicone dioxide is an anti-caking agent.
I don't think I put that in my body.
Do you think noodles are supposed to cake? Contains one or more of the following: canola, cottonseed, palm. How come they don't even know what's in their own food? I think that's a good question.
When you need lunch in 30 seconds, you need styrofoam and MSG. Just add hot water.
I'm not even sure what that is,
Sounds
but
like
yeah.
It's gonna shut down your liver.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what TBHQ is?
No.
Does that sound delicious? Does that make you like, can't wait to have it?
No. But it also costing $1 is kind of what got us through college, so.
Never heard of anything that's in ramen. I just eat it and hope that I don't die.
This is the state of our food in society today. We have to just eat it and hope we don't die. It says that, but I'm not sure that's what it is, actually. I wouldn't want to talk about this food either. It's scary.
Frozen goodness. Frostbitten by a factory, never by nature.
Do you think this bread is genetically modified?
You would hope there'd be a tag on it that said it was.
Yeah, we don't have that in this country, though, so we're never going to know. Do you think that's genetically modified?
I'm sure it is.
I mean, how are we supposed to know, right? They don't put it on the box. They don't tell you.
Well, usually if it's more than 3 syllables, I know.
I just wish they would tell me what percentage of GMO I should be eating every day. I mean, it's like a daily value. That would be really helpful. No, probably not. We probably our government's owned by corporations, so we will probably never get labeling, at least not honest labeling in this country. It's sad.
It tastes just like azodicarbonamide and anti-caking agent should.
So you would think potatoes might just actually have potatoes in them. But as a matter of fact, these particular potatoes have about 35 ingredients. So at least the number one ingredient in the potatoes is potatoes. After that, it gets a little dodgy. Sodium acid pyrophosphate, dipotassium phosphate, tricalcium phosphate, sodium bisulfite to maintain freshness, disodium inosinate, disodium guanylate, citric acid to maintain freshness, and mixed tocopherols to maintain Do you guys like potatoes? I don't think they want any. Could you tell what half of the ingredients on these potatoes are?
No, ma'am.
It says it's supposed to be potatoes.
But it's a lot of hydro food up in here. Yeah. Artificial.
What do you think about having anti-caking agents in your food?
No, that's not.
Do potatoes cake?
No, that don't go right. They probably telling you can make a cake out this potato. A potato cake or something.
Although you can't quite put your finger on it, the way it was made has everything to do with the way it tastes.
Stage planks. Do you care if I ask you a quick question about this food? Yeah, I don't either. That's why I'm trying to ask somebody. I'm sure somebody. Would you eat these? Does this look? No? She's walking away. She would not eat them. She's actually afraid that I showed them to her. I feel bad now. This really is the least appetizing thing I think we've found in a grocery store in some time. Now, when I think of food, I think of construction material. I don't know what that is. I could say that about pretty much everything in the bag. I don't know what half of it is. It's enzyme modified too. It's science.
Let's do 1,000 milligrams.
Does that make you hungry when I say those words?
Not at all. No, in fact, I'm a little disgusted.
How many ingredients is this? I mean, do you need like a science degree to figure out what's in your food?
Basically, these days, you do need to have some type of education to read a box.
I mean, what kind of degree do you think I need to get to learn how to read a label in this country?
I have no clue.
Do you know, I mean, how are we supposed to figure out what to eat? You have to have like a chemistry degree, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who's supposed to read this and go, I can't wait to eat?
A scientist could.
I think a scientist would run away and cry because this is very scary. All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I should run away screaming from this.
You shouldn't have left that on the shelf where you got it from.
Yeah, if you can't pronounce it, you probably shouldn't be having any.
Can't pronounce it, don't eat it. That's everything. I just want someone to tell me how to eat. Someone could just tell me what I'm supposed to eat.
I know what you're thinking. Yes, it is approved for human consumption.
And now a group of drunken NATO members singing "We Are the World" at a time when they simply aren't. And finally tonight, Hillary's pathology contest. She's not even a character in a Hitchcock movie wearing her mother's dress and running around with a butcher knife in a seedy hotel. She's just running for president of the country.
If you or anyone you know have information on the crimes and misdeeds of a 2016 presidential candidate, or if you can name Hillary's pathology, please submit it to writers at truthstreammedia.com.
That's it for Truthstream Media. Thanks for watching. Hope you found it informative, funny, sexy, witty, insightful. I hope you'll watch again. I hope you'll tell other people to watch too. We appreciate your support at any rate. We appreciate you not turning it off and watching it to the end here. Just remember, we're only two people trying to stay funny, trying to stay informed, trying to keep the lights on, and trying to keep doing what we're doing. We need all the help we can, and hope you keep on doing what you're doing too. We'll turn things around and give a shout out for sanity, for common sense, for freedom, for a better time, for a vote against Hitler.
This was a stupid date.
All the remotes, all of them, mine.
Now there's a dark side to the Antarctic that many people have seen, but camera crews just won't report on. There's a giant 80-foot glacial ice bunny god there, and sadly, much of the world's leaders, leading military figures, puppet government officials from Europe and South America, the Peloponnesian Islands, were there sacrificing children and stuffing body parts into fishes that were laced up and put on a sacrificial fire. And there was a squeaking, clicking penguin thing that I think had been put in charge. Basically, from what I understood, it was kind of an intro crash course. It was a shaman penguin from the oldest cultures.
Have you been dropping acid again?
Anyway, I suppose it's best to keep that story for another time. Dun 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 dun. Last week, we were nearly shot down in our news escapade to the Antarctic. A pirate ship rolled up and tried to intercept us as we filmed penguins to shed light on the mysteries of simple life and reproduction, mating habits, and sociology. And it seems some people out there don't want us to keep soldiering on. We drew heavy fire from ISIS out there in their icy tundra suits. They were really mean. They were nasty. They had AK-47s. They were organized in small bands. They used a clicking language that helped to translate to kind of a medium level telegraph and transmission system.
Did you get this story from Brian Williams?
Brian Williams was there, but he didn't want to be filmed that night. He was not in full makeup. And I can tell you he's not a beautiful man.
Did you get this story from George Stephanopoulos? Are you taking money from the Clinton Foundation, Aaron?
We saw this already.
What if I told you $1,000 so they can have a baby. Record numbers of people are paying for in vitro fertilization treatments because so many are having a hard time conceiving. No one can seem to figure out why. No one is adding up the issues. No one's talking about it. Is anyone concerned about this? I guess someday it will be children of men, and basically no one will have children unless it's specifically authorized through a highly scientific, highly invasive, highly planned and concocted birth. And but they've got it all figured out. Now they got a chicken with a genetically modified embryo that's growing a beak like a velociraptor instead of like, well, a chicken.
Welcome to Jurassic Park. Bingo. Dino DNA.
At no expense.
Hold on to your butts. Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should.
At no expense.
But John, if the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists. You never look at birds the same way again. Life, finds a way.
And the scientists note that, quote, by altering this early protein, they're actually altering gene expression. And isn't it just that it will keep people healthy? And as a former educator, this congresswoman understands the importance of childhood vaccinations.
The earthquake was a blessing.
Damn your reasons, damn your investigations, damn your philosophical exemptions, and your religion. Baby bust, millennials are having, well, a historical shift towards a lower birth rate. No one's having babies.
Millennials may be shaping a lot of things in American culture, but they're not adding to society in one big way: having babies. A study by the Urban Institute found birth rates among women ages 20 to 29 fell 15% from 2007 to 2012.
The birth rate's down to 948 births per 1,000 women, by far the slowest pace of any generation of young women in all of U.S. history. There's already the whole Asian demographic change going on, and they say that we're on track record to catch up with Japan and Europe as birth rates fall. Meanwhile, in unrelated news, more and more couples are taking out giant loans not to buy cars, not to buy houses, not to rack up credit card debt on consumer goods, televisions, things they don't need, but to pay $30. And it's being introduced by this woman, Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, in a silly hat.
There are Indians in my district who eat dog food when their food stamps run out.
And the real enemy is the Tea Party.
It's time for lawmakers to put anti-science rhetoric aside.
It's kind of like sending a comical novelty midget to be a repo man, or sending the Grim Reaper in drag.
I've been to Haiti prior to the earthquake. And I would consider the earthquake, even, it might sound strange, but the earthquake was a blessing.
Or, oh boy, it's a narcissistic psycho who's a black man or a woman, instead of the usual WASP. It's still bad news run by bad people. But there's the diversion of the funny hat.
Not enough children are being shot up with chemicals from pharmaceutical companies that lobby me at fundraisers.
But now, medical exemptions will be the only way to get out of vaccinations. Everyone has to do what they're told because, well, vaccinations are effective. It's assertively a fact, apparently.
That every moment you've been alive, you've been trapped in a box.
A form of control. A virtual prison. You can't see, taste, smell, touch, hear.
What is the key?
How would you break free? How? First of all, you just got to get control of the fact that life isn't what it used to be. It's not your grandma's life. It's not your daddy's life. It's not the American dream. If that ever existed, it has been absorbed.
You have to be asleep to believe it, isn't that what George Carlin said?
And now, this week, in the creeping horror.
This week in the creeping horror, the world tips ever closer towards full-out medical tyranny. California's Senate has predictably passed its forced vaccination bills, and other ducks are lining up. Now at the federal level, we have the introduction of the Vaccinate All Children Act. It asserts that requiring vaccinations for all students will save lives and protect future generations.